morning everyone. As I told you yesterday that we'll be visiting the Winter Palace today, and it's also a museum. So I have got actually a lot of feedbacks about this being a very good site in Russia. I hope you would like it too.
So today we'll be talking about all the modern history of Russia as we go through the museum.
Yeah.
So what are we waiting for? Let's
go!
We finally arrived. So let's start moving to the right.
Thankfully, we have already got the tickets for the museum, so we already have a head start.
And do stay with us because you might get lost.
Wow! See this picture? This actually depicts the royalty of Russia. Do you know that there were a lot of alliances for Russia in the history of Russia or in ancient Russia? They were tied with Germany, Austria, etc. with so many countries.
Yes, and also you might have heard about the French Revolution. Do you know that the French Revolution had a huge impact in the history of Russia? Let's see how. So there was an abolition of a class system in France after the French Revolution, and after that this idea spread all over Europe and Russia too. So the Russians also started revolting against the caste system that existed there. Also after the French Revolution, the ideas of democratic ideas and then individual rights and universal franchise also spread. Similarly, the Russians also wanted the same.
Yeah, and through this, they formed three main groups. One is the liberals. So liberals were very open-minded, but the thing is they did not support women or UAF or the Universal Adult Franchise. Next comes the radical group. This group actually was okay with anything, but they wanted the elections to be very fair, and they also were okay with UAF, which is again Universal Adult Franchise. The conservatives did not support either the radicals nor the liberals. What they did support though was the thing that was still going, but then after the 19th century they realized that change is inevitable, so they have to go with it, but they still respect their past and they don't want to change it. Yes, and these three actually stayed very influential for a very long time in Russia. And yeah, that is actually the infrastructure of Russia, the infrastructure and the development in Russia. Now that we are talking about infrastructure, Jyoti, could you explain more about that?
Sure. So industrialization in Russia and also the Europe brought all men, women and children to factories and work. Even children below the age of 15, which is the standard age for working, were also employed in the factories. Working hours were often long with poor wages. At the same period, the radicals, liberals and the nationalists formed the revolutionaries in many of the countries, for example, France, Russia, Germany, etc. The nationalists were the ones who wanted a nation where all the citizens had equal rights. The factory owners were often the liberals and the radicals, but unlike the noble owners, they knew the importance of educated and skilled laborers. Therefore, they provided labor education and training to the labor and provided education to the children who worked in the factory.
On one side, things got very hard for Russians, like they didn't get their enough wages, they had very bad living conditions. On the other side, the thought process of Russians actually grew really very well. Like they started liking the idea of socialism and communism. Communists and socialists thought that private property or the fact that there's nobles holding property is actually one of the biggest social ills, and communism should come up. In 1870s, the socialist ideas started spreading through Europe, and also Karl Marx argued that the society was capitalist. And another socialist known as Louis Blanc actually was very appealed to the idea of cooperatives, where the whole society cooperates with each other and nobody has to pay more than any other. It's all equal. And then after that, what happens is everybody in Europe wants to come together now and they want to cooperate with each other. So they formed this international body called the Second International.
Yeah, and there was so much support for socialism all over Europe and the rest of the world that it grew like a rapid fire. Oh, that is the Russian Tsar, Nicholas II. Well, on the one side, there was industrial growth, but on the other side, Russia was a monarchy, which means it was an autocratic state. The Russian Empire of that time stretched to the Pacific and included today's Eastern Europe's countries, including Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, Belarus, Ukraine, and the Middle Asian countries, as well as Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. The major religion of Russia at that time was the Russian Orthodox Christianity, but the empire also included Catholics, the Protestants, Muslims, and many other religions. Though it was very diverse, the Russian Orthodox Christianity was the most favored one. Even though the Romanov family had so much of land under its control, it could not stop the 1917 rebellion. But before we go there, let us just understand the economic and social structure and the situation of the Russian people under the Tsar.
Yeah. So there were four actual economic groups. One is the agriculturists or the farmers, then comes the workers, and then nobles, and then clergy. So the farmers were actually one of the hugest agriculturists of Europe in Russia. They actually made 85% of the population. They were the largest exporters of grain. They periodically put their land together and then they divided it by the mir. Next comes the workers. So workers themselves were very divided within,
But they still came together to fight for their wages and working hours.
Yeah, but we'll come to that later. So workers had to work for 12 hours, whereas a craftsperson had to work for 15 hours. And then they had to live in very poor conditions, very poor living conditions, and very bad sanity. They had a lot of problems living itself. And then women workers itself made up of 31% of the population, yet they were only paid half to 3/4 of the men's wages. It shows how much unfair and equal they could be. And then comes the workers' strike. They were done with how badly they were treated, and this led to workers striking in textile industries from 1896 to 1897, and the same strike happened in metal industries in 1902.
Next comes a bit more richer class, which is the nobility. It got all of its land by the service to the Tsar and not by the public support. Thus, the nobility was highly disliked by the people, both workers and farmers. The way the nobility treated the laborers who worked on their lands was really unequal and unfair. They were paid really low wages, due to which they could not pay their dues. And because of this treatment, the farmers were fed up and they revolted against the nobility and started murdering their landlords. In the southern Russia by around 1902, and in the entire Russia by around 1905, the richest and the most top class was the clergy, and they were related to the church, and because they were religious, both the farmers and the workers respected them a lot.
This lit the fire in the socialism in Russia. So people weren't able to handle the fact that they were treated unequally, and that's why a huge idea of socialism arose against the monarchy. Socialist parties actually were banned until 1948. Not only Socialist Party, but any kind of party against the monarchy was banned till 1914. Also after that, but we'll see later what happens to that. The workers formed the Russian Social Democratic Party in 1898, based on the Marx social ideas. Some believe that the farmers of Russia were naturally socialist because they divided their land equally, and that shows how equal-minded they were and how open-minded they could be. The farmers formed the Social Revolutionary Party in 1900. According to Lenin, farmers were very divided. They were not equal. They didn't really want to be with each other. And that's why, the Social Democratic Party divided into two parts, which is Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. The leader of the Bolsheviks was Vladimir Lenin, whereas the leader of Mensheviks was Julius Martov. After this came the storm of the 1905 revolution.
Russia was an autocracy, and even in the beginning of 20th century, where most of the European countries' monarchs were under the rule of either a parliament or a constitution, or even both, like France, Russian Tsar was not under either the parliament or the constitution. Thus, both the Social Democratic Workers' Party and the Socialist Revolutionary Party demanded a constitution during the 1905 revolution. For the Russian workers, bad times started from 1904 itself. Their wages declined a lot, and their real wages declined by 20%. Therefore, the workers went on strike. They striked for a proper wage, for proper working hours, and for proper working conditions.
Yeah, and this actually, this strike was led by Father Gapin, and they were attacked by police and Cossacks. When they reached the Winter Palace, yes, the same Winter Palace that we are standing in right now. This incident is also known as the Bloody Sunday, and after this event actually led to so many events that actually end up being the 1905 revolution. Yes. And then what happens is during the 1905 revolution, the Tsar allowed the creation of the Duma. They were like elected through the people, but Tsar actually didn't like it because they were giving their opinions, and the Tsar didn't want to take any of anybody's opinions. So he just kept something called Duma just so that the people would be okay with it. But in real, there was no use of the Duma.
And the first Duma was suspended within 75 days, and a new one was elected within 3 months.
Yes.
And in the new one, there were no liberals or radicals. It was full of conservatives and nobles.
Yeah. After 1905, there were a lot of parties going on behind the government. This was actually declared illegal, and it was not allowed, but they still secretly worked under that.
So they were basically unofficial.
Yep.
Well, all of what we told you was inside Russia till now, but when you see the international image of Russia, it was going through a lot. It was participating in a lot of wars. For example, a war with Japan in order to get its image back in the eyes of their people, which they failed because the Japan military had such an amazing comeback that the Russians were not able to fight back.
If you're confused until then, call us. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.